because they are less represented in terms of percentage. So the aim of this association, for those who don't know, is to inspire girls and women to pursue education in science. But we have content that can interest all any scientist in the world. Okay, so for today, I am really glad and happy to actually to introduce Darlington, a good scientist, really engaged, that will present the webinar of today. So he will present the first part, the main talk, the one that is supposed to interest you actually, students, because he will describe in his talk plagiarism, what is plagiarism, how to avoid plagiarism, and also referencing. And we will have the most important part, the practical session. So make sure to be there till the end of the webinar so that we have this practical session together, okay? So we will start with his presentation. He will introduce and present himself. But after his presentation, I will also have a spotlight talk about good use of AI. So after that, we then will close the webinar with the practical session on how to use Zotero. He will introduce and he will tell you everything about Zotero. So the floor is yours, Darlington, and enjoy the webinar, all of you. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Doc, for giving me the floor. I'm very privileged to be part of this webinar session to share knowledge I have on plagiarism and referencing, which is actually a very key and important knowledge to have as a student, as a scientist, most especially those who are into research. It is very, very important. Okay, please, I am sharing my screen. Please, I need confirmation whether you can be able to see my screen.
Yes,
Okay, thank you
we
very
can
much.
see your screen.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. So actually, plagiarism is a very important concept that every student is supposed to be aware of, and he or she should better know how to avoid it, thereby ensuring and maintaining academic integrity. Yes, it is a very important concept to be aware of. Actually, plagiarism is a purposeful or accidental use of someone's words or ideas without proper accreditation of that particular person. So that is basically what plagiarism is all about. Either it is purposely or it is accidentally, whenever the ideas or the words of someone are being used without accreditation, that is plagiarism. And the plagiarism can actually manifest itself in a variety of ways. We look at the first form of plagiarism is copying directly the text from by someone without use of quotation marks and the citations. If we look, for example, this is a snapshot of the WHO website giving a brief definition of what malaria is all about, telling us that malaria is a life-threatening disease spread to humans by some type of mosquitoes. Actually, if you are interested in this particular idea or you have seen this particular text and it is of interest and you want to use it in your particular study or in your research, and you take this text exactly as you have seen it and put it in your own write-up without writing it in quotes, telling us that it is from the WHO, it is wrong. That is why in the first case we say that malaria is a life-threatening disease spread to humans by some types of mosquitoes. It doesn't indicate where the information is coming from, doesn't indicate it doesn't indicate it doesn't indicate whether that information is is coming from which source, whether the information is given out by who, and so on. And actually, when you want to use the words of someone exactly as they are given, you should be able to write the information in quotes. You have to put it in quotes to indicate that, okay, I am using the direct words of someone. Now, the second case, you actually take the sentence, the information, and use it, but you tell us the proper source of the information. But you just copy the text as it is and use it in your own write-up. It is still a form of plagiarism because you just do copy and paste, which is not actually good and encouraged in the scientific community. Now, you could do a better way by saying that the information is coming from the WHO as presented here, and then you write it and put the text in quotes. This is to show that you are using the words verbally as that particular person wrote it. But now it is not a proper way. You cannot be writing a document, an academic document, and every text in the document is in quotes. It is not actually proper. So the best thing to do is to use the ideas obtained from this definition, bring up your own definition, and give the proper referencing to the source of the information. Yes, that is it. That is why this last one says that malaria is a disease which is transmitted among humans through specific types of mosquitoes, and that this particular condition, this particular disease is life-threatening. Yes, now with the citation attached, it now makes the use of the materials or the ideas from this source appropriate. The second case of the plagiarism is paraphrasing someone else's ideas without citing the source. So actually, we are still looking at the snapshot from the WHO website. Even though the information have been paraphrased, or you have actually better in a better way, you have written it in your own words based on what you understood, but now you fail to give information on where that particular ideas are coming from. Like in this first case, you see that yes, you have done well to write it based on your own understanding, but now you have not given any information on where that particular information is coming from. It is still another form of plagiarism. So that is why, for it to be complete, for you to be free out from it, you need to use the ideas and then provide the citation to where it is coming from, as shown in this second case. Now, the third form of plagiarism is using data or images without credit. When we are working with our research, it is very important that at one moment we may need to include images, like in the literature, and in the results section, and so on and so forth. Now, if you use the image and the image is coming from someone's work, you have to give credit to that person, because once you insert an image in the work without giving credit, the idea, the perception is that this image was photographed by you yourself, of which that is not the case. That is the image that was being photographed by someone else, and so you have to give credit to where that particular image is coming from. Now we have the fourth case, which is falsifying citations, which means that you have actually used ideas from a particular source, for example, an abstract section of a particular site, and then you have gotten ideas from that particular source, and you have make a write-up of a particular text from that particular source. But then in the citation, you are giving the reference, you are giving the accreditation to a wrong source. These particular ideas were obtained from this article. This article, if you look at it, you see that the author, the main investigator of this particular research was Omodara and the others. But now it is showing here that it was obtained from the WHO, but that is not where the particular information or the ideas came from. So it's another form, you are falsifying the citation. So actually, you look at it critically, you see that this is where this is these are the investigators or the people who have published this work. So you have to make sure that the proper citation is given to that particular ideas you have used in your write-up. And then it is very common among students, because when sometimes the students are doing their write-ups, they are not really knowledgeable on all of these things. Sometimes they can write their whole work without citation, without references. They don't have any information or any way to keep track of where the information came from. And when the supervisor, or when a mentor asks them to ensure that they include referencing and citations in the work, they have to just some of them they just go online and they just pick any source and put there, which is not actually proper. You need to ensure that when you are working with your research, any information you take from a source, you make the citation and the referencing immediately to avoid confusion that will lead you into this form of plagiarism, which is falsifying of the citation and the references. So we have submitting work written by someone else. Yes, sometimes it is very overwhelming for students to actually go through the process of writing, reading, writing, as it is very studious. They are tempted to just take the work of someone and then make some few changes to information which could be specific to them only, and then submit the document, which is a very, very fatal form of plagiarism. So submitting work written by someone else is not actually a very good practice. So we have self-plagiarism. In this case, you see that you have worked on a particular domain or in a particular field, and you have done maybe some publications, and then you are doing a research of where some of the information, some of the ideas in the previous publication could be used in the present ones, and you have actually made use of those publications, but because it is your own publication, you fail to make the referencing or the citation. It is actually wrong. It is self-plagiarism because at that moment, the readers don't even know where the ideas came from. Like, for example, you see a study that was carried out by Abe Bandura in 1973. Actually, when Abe Bandura was carrying out this study in 1973, he have done other previous studies in 1971 and in 1977. So he made sure that all the ideas he used from his previous studies were being included into the current study. So whenever you are doing a write-up and you have any previous publication, you need to ensure that you make the citation or you make the referencing, even though it was work which was published by you actually. So what are the implications of actually this plagiarism? Plagiarism have a lot of implications, running from academic dishonesty, penalties. You know that you are not supposed to plagiarize, and you plagiarize, so you have penalties to pay for that. You have damage of reputation. When we look at, let us say, for example, a student who is doing the work, and maybe let us say they are with the supervisor with other students, and then there is a student who have really done a lot of plagiarism. Um, you see that due to that particular aspect, your reputation is being tampered. Yes, especially in fact, maybe you are in a congregation, or you are in a public, and then you are being caution for plagiarism. So you see that your reputation is affected. Fake dissertation, you could actually do your dissertation and it's very good, but you are not able to earn a pass mark because of the plagiarism that you have actually done in your work. You have experience from academic institutions. At some level, you could be expert just because of the plagiarism you have. So we have the plagiarization, professional setbacks. Imagine that you are into academics, or you are a researcher, and you are having great ambitions about your research, but then you start your journey and then you find yourself into plagiarism. You see that it's going to draw you back, because if you wanted to make publications, they are going to be delayed, they are going to be rejected because of plagiarism, because of plagiarized work, and then it is going to draw you back in your journey. Yes, no one will actually want to work with, no institution, no one will actually want to work with someone who is doing plagiarism. Yes, anyone who knows the right thing, we're actually going for someone who is doing things in the right way. So you have legal issues, you have delayed graduation and loss of degree, you have missed learning opportunities, and even loss of funding opportunities. So those are a couple of implications of actually doing plagiarism. So how can plagiarism now be prevented? So for plagiarism to be prevented, proper citation and referencing have to be done. In the write-up, there is supposed to be in-text citations that is going to give direction to the complete reference or the bibliography, the complete information to the source where that particular ideas were being obtained from. So the citations are very important. They come within the text of in the write-up, and then the full bibliography. The full bibliography is now the complete list of all the list of the complete information of all the sources where the information is coming from. Now, in the academic domain, the site, there are different forms of referencing, and then most of the different departments, schools, and domains in the academic use the American Psychological Association 7th edition referencing format, with the exception of some few schools that go in for the Vancouver, like the Faculty of Health Science that uses the Vancouver. So actually, the APA is the most and the widely used referencing format that we have in the academic domain. So that is why we are going to look deeply on how an APA referencing style or formatting should look like. So when we have the first thing is that information in a write-up could be coming from a variety of sources. That could be articles, it could be books, it could be videos, it could be websites, it could be reports, and so on. So actually, the way those different sources are being referenced using the APA referencing formatting varies based on the source of the ideas or the information. So based on articles that are published in journals, the citation formatting goes as those. If the information coming from that particular article is an article which is published by one person, just one author, what is going to happen is that the in-text citation is going to have the last name of the author and the year in which that particular article was being published. Like you see in this case, Bandura 1978. So when you put the name of the author, you use a comma to separate it from the year and a space bar. So this is how it is written. Now you have a case whereby you have two authors that are involved in the study. So when there are two authors, you just need to use their last names. The main investigator's name, you use the and symbol, and you use the last name of the second investigator. You put comma and the year in which they actually did the publication. So in this case, there could be some differences based on the and. In most oftenly, what is recommended is that when the citation is done at the end of the paragraph or at the end of the write-up, this one could be more preferable. But if the citation is done within the paragraph, like for example, maybe according to a study carried out by Igley and Coward in 2002, this one could be more preferable to be used with the and in completely spread out. So we have the third approach, whereby we have more than two authors that are involved in the study, because the citation cannot involve just every name. It is going to be too lengthy. They are going to use so many names. What happens is that we use the word et al. So whenever there are so many investigators, more than three and above, we just use the last name of the first investigator. We use et al, which stands for and others. You put a full stop, a comma, and then you put the year in which that particular work was being published. And this is how you expect the complete reference to look like in the referencing format. So the referencing format, you have the names of the authors. So the last names are written in full, a comma, then the abbreviations of the initials of the other names are being given. After each initial, you use a full stop to give the next initial. Then you have the year. From the year, you go to the title of the work, then now the name of the journal written in italics, as you can see here, the volume in bold, the issue in follows the bracket, then the pages. From there, we follow by the DOI. But the DOI is actually optional because there are actually some articles that do not have the DOI. So it's an optional information that you can that you put. But if you have access to the DOI, it will be more accurate to actually include it. So you can see a second case here. We have more than two authors. So we have the main author's name. We put the abbreviate the other ones. Before you go to the other names of the other authors, you use a full stop comma to tell us that you are already going to another author's information. Then before you bring the final author's name, you use and before you write the final author's information. Then every other thing remains the same. And then we have another case here. But actually, what happens is that when you see a reference that looks like this one is mostly common when you generate the references using Google Scholar. When you go to Google Scholar and you generate the reference from Google Scholar, when the authors are so many, the capability that is going to give you the names of all the authors in the complete reference is very low. So it is not in most cases when the authors are so many, it doesn't give you all the information. So when you find these three dots before the last author's information, that indicates that there are other authors information that is missing. So actually this information must be completed. So you have to go to the article itself, to the source itself, and find out those informations of the authors that are missing and include it into the complete reference. Then we have the second case. We look at some variation in the references. We know that after the volume and the issue, we are supposed to have the pages, but there are actually some journals that rather than using the pages, they put what you call the article number. So rather than seeing the pages saying that okay, this article is from page this to page this in this journal, they instead give the article an article number, that in this particular journal, this article represents article number 255. This in this journal, this article remains the article number is E00435. So when you come across this, you should not be too worried about it. It's actually appropriate because those journals are not using the pages formatting, but they instead go in for the article number. Um, we have now the APA referencing format for a web page. When you are dealing with a web page, information is coming from a web page. It is not the same thing like in a journal because all those information we find and so on, they are not the same. So when it's a web page, actually the approach is different. The citation is similar to that we have seen in that we have seen with articles, just with the difference that in most cases, when you are working with if the work published in the in the website, what's posted in the website is written by an author, you are able to find the author's name and the year and the year of publication. You can cite the author's name and then the year in which the information was updated in that particular web page. Now, when it's an organization, like for example, the World Health Organization, there are so many people who are actually working in the World Organization, and you can see the work. There are so many people who write it, and most cases you may not be able to lay hands on actually who the particular persons that actually did the write-up are. So you could use the abbreviation of that particular organization and the year, like in these two cases. And then for the complete reference, the names are being given same way you see it with the APA. You can see here then the year is actually written out in full. That is the date, the publication is actually written out in full, 2023 August 8th. And then now the title is instead in italics. Then now you have the name of that particular web page. So you see the one is the headline web page, and then the address at least to the web page, so that someone, if want to investigate, want to verify the information, could be able to have access to that particular web page. Same like when it's an organization, when you use the abbreviation, you have to write the abbreviation in full in the referencing section of the particular of the work. So we look at the case like in the case of a book. When we are looking at a book, it is actually different. There are so many differences that come up when it comes to books. You see that there could be uh, cases whereby maybe the books have been published, the books are not published, the books has some identifier like the ISBN number and so on and so forth. So the names of the authors or the citation actually follows the approach as we have seen earlier. Then the full references, what happened here is that the information that adds into the reference is that we are going to have the publisher. So this is the name of the author, the year in which the book was being published or released, then the title of the book, what the book is talking about, then this is the publisher. So the publisher of this book is Kenneth. Then now we have this second case of the book. So we have this is the title of the book. So now the edition of the book is available. So we include the edition. So this is the fourth edition and it's published by person. So now this is another book. Just now that for this one we have a link that could give us direction to where this particular book is coming from. You include that in the citation, in the referencing. That is to give more information that can give a reader direction or information to a source where the information is coming from. So how now to make the referencing easy? We go now through a manual way of referencing, which could be more preferable to use Google Scholar, because actually putting down the reference down, capturing all the information to put it by yourself, it could be very, very challenging. And Google Scholar could be one of the sites that will help you to achieve that more easy. But then we have other approaches such as the use of applications like Mendeley and Zotero, which is going to make it even more easier as compared to how Google Scholar will be able to do it. Because with Google Scholar, you will still be requested to write out the citation by yourself. And with the Zotero and the Mendeley, it is more better as it is more automated, and then it can easily be updated and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for being there and listening to this presentation. So I think that I come to the end of the presentation on what referencing is all about and what plagiarism is all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the nice and clear presentation. I hope you take notes and you listen. Actually, the presentation will be available for students. I mean, the one under my supervision for long essay. So, but after my the second part of this webinar, you will have a we will have a Q&A session. So you will ask all the questions you want. Okay, you can ask the question just after the second part of this webinar. So take notes, and that intern will answer the question after, and we also have the practical session just after that presentation. Thank you again for the nice presentation.